The helicopter tilts hard into the wind. Below, the mountain ridge disappears into white. Visibility drops to 0. Captain Marcus Thornton's voice cuts through the radio, sharp and final. "Turn back. That's an order." Lieutenant Sarah Caldwell doesn't respond. Her hands stay steady on the controls. Behind her, strapped to a gurney, the young ranger's pulse weakens with every passing second. She's already made her choice. The storm hit the northern range 3 hours earlier. What started as routine surveillance became a nightmare when the ranger fell during a cliff rescue. Internal bleeding, maybe 30 minutes before his organs shut down. The only trauma surgeon within 200 miles waits at the base hospital. Between them, 12 miles of the most treacherous terrain in the state, and a blizzard that's grounded every other pilot on the roster. Sarah's been flying for 8 years. 4 in combat zones, 4 in mountain rescue. She knows these peaks better than anyone in the unit. She's pulled 17 people out of situations command called impossible. But she's also the newest transfer to this base. 3 months. Just long enough for Captain Thornton to decide she's too aggressive, too willing to bend protocol, too dangerous. She'd been in the maintenance hangar when the call came through. The ranger station's distress signal crackled across every frequency. Man down. Critical. Extraction needed immediately. She'd watched the senior pilots shake their heads, watched them point at the weather display, watched Captain Thornton declare the mission scrubbed until conditions improved, conditions that wouldn't improve for 6 hours, long after the ranger would be dead. Sarah had walked to her helicopter without a word, ran her pre-flight checks, started the rotors. By the time Thornton realized what she was doing, she was already lifting off. Now she's 3 miles into the ridge system. The wind hits her in gusts that could flip the aircraft. Ice forms on the windscreen faster than the defroster can clear it. She flies by instruments and instinct, following the terrain map burned into her memory. The valley she needs runs northeast between 2 peaks. If she can thread that gap, she'll be through the worst of it. If. The radio erupts again. "Lieutenant Caldwell, you will abort this mission immediately." Thornton's voice carries the weight of 15 years in command. He's not wrong to be angry. She violated direct orders, took off without authorization, put herself and a patient at risk. By every regulation in the book, she should turn around. But regulations don't account for the sound of a man dying behind her. She clicks the transmit button once, not a response, just acknowledgement that she heard. Then she pushes forward into the white. The helicopter shudders. Wind shear catches the tail rotor. For 3 seconds, she fights pure chaos. The aircraft spins 15 degrees before she corrects. Her hands move faster than thought, throttle and collective and pedals, all adjusting in precise sequence. The maneuver she learned in Afghanistan, the one that saved her crew when they took fire over Kandahar. The helicopter stabilizes. The valley walls appear on her instruments, rising on both sides. She's in the gap. Behind her, the medic's voice cuts through her headset. "Blood pressure dropping, we need to land. Now." 4 minutes, Sarah says. Her voice doesn't waver, can't waver. Fear is a luxury, and she has none to spare. The wind screams. The helicopter claws forward. Every second stretches. Her world narrows to the instruments before her, the stick in her hand, the collective that controls their altitude. She becomes part of the machine, feels its weight, its balance, its desperate struggle against the storm. 3 minutes. The valley begins to widen. She's through the worst of the peaks. Ahead, the base should be coming into range. Should be. If she calculated correctly. If the wind hasn't pushed her off course. If the storm hasn't shifted south. 2 minutes. A break in the white. Just for a moment. She catches a glimpse of lights below. The base. She adjusts course, dropping altitude. The wind tries to slam her into the ground. She compensates, holding them steady. 1 minute. The landing pad materializes through the snow. Medical teams wait, hunched against the wind. She drops fast, faster than protocol allows. But precision matters more than procedure now. The skids touch concrete. Perfect landing. Not a bounce. She doesn't shut down the rotors. just signals to the medical team. They rush forward, extract the gurney, disappear into the emergency wing. The medic gives her a thumbs up before he follows. The patient's alive. Still critical, but alive. She bought him his chance. Only then does she kill the engines. Only then does she let herself breathe. The wind dies to a whisper inside the cockpit. Outside, snow continues to fall. She sits in the sudden silence, hands still on the controls. Her heart pounds. Adrenaline crashes through her system. She just risked everything, her career, her life, for a stranger. And she'd do it again. The door beside her jerks open. Captain Thornton stands in the snow. His face is stone. Behind him, 3 other pilots watch from the hangar entrance. Witnesses to her insubordination. Out of the aircraft, Lieutenant. She climbs down. Stands at attention. Her flight suit is soaked with sweat despite the cold. Thornton's jaw works. He's building to something. A reprimand, maybe worse. She's violated enough regulations to justify a court-martial. You disobeyed a direct order, he says. Yes, sir. You took off without authorization. Yes, sir. You endangered yourself and your patient. No, sir. The words come before she can stop them. I gave him the only chance he had. Thornton's eyes narrow. For a moment she thinks she's crossed a line she can't come back from. Then he looks past her, at the helicopter, at the mountain ridge barely visible through the storm. When he looks back, something in his expression has shifted. That valley passage, he says quietly, in 0 visibility, I wouldn't have attempted it. It's not quite approval. But it's not condemnation either. Sarah stays silent, lets him work through whatever calculation he's running. The ranger's in surgery. Thornton continues. They think he'll make it. The surgeon said another 15 minutes and it would have been too late. He pauses. You know what you did was reckless. Yes, sir. You know I should ground you. Yes, sir. You know every pilot on this base is going to think they can pull the same stunt now. They shouldn't, sir. Not unless they can fly that passage. It's a bold statement. Arrogant, even. But it's also true. She knows those mountains. Knows them in a way that takes years to develop. The other pilots are good. She's better. At least in that specific terrain. Thornton studies her. The wind picks up again, throwing snow between them. Finally, he nods. Once. Sharp. Debrief in 1 hour. Full incident report. You'll be explaining yourself to everyone up the chain. He turns to leave, then stops. And, Lieutenant? Next time you plan to ignore my orders, at least have the courtesy to tell me why before you take off. It's permission. Conditional, grudging, but permission nonetheless. She allows herself the smallest smile. Understood, sir. He walks away. The other pilots remain in the hangar entrance. She recognizes them. Carter, who's been here 5 years. Rodriguez, who transferred in from Nevada. Bishop, who's been flying rescue since before she was born. They've all been polite but distant since her arrival. The new pilot. The one who thinks she's hot stuff because she flew combat missions. Now they're watching her with different eyes. Carter approaches first. He's tall, broad-shouldered, carries himself with the easy confidence of experience. That was either the gutsiest flying I've ever seen, he says, or the stupidest. Maybe both, Sarah admits. Probably both. But he's grinning. Welcome to the unit, for real this time. Rodriguez and Bishop follow. They don't say much. Just nods of acknowledgement. But it's enough. She's crossed some threshold. Proved something she didn't realize needed proving. That she belongs here. That her skills aren't just stories from another posting. Inside the base, the warmth hits her like a wall. She peels off her gloves, flexes her fingers. They're stiff from gripping the controls. Her whole body aches. She's been tensed for so long that relaxation almost hurts. The debriefing room is exactly what she expects. Stark. Functional. A table with chairs around it. Captain Thornton sits at the head, a tablet in front of him. 2 officers she doesn't recognize flank him. Higher brass, judging by their insignia, the kind of attention that makes or breaks careers. She tells them everything. The decision to launch. The flight path she chose. The wind shear that nearly killed them. The landing that brought them home. She doesn't embellish. Doesn't downplay. Just facts. Delivered with the precision they demand. The questions come hard and fast. Why didn't she wait for conditions to improve? How did she justify the risk? Did she consider alternative options? What gave her the confidence to attempt a passage that other pilots deemed impossible? She answers each one. Steady. Honest. She knew the terrain. She knew her aircraft. She knew the weather window was closing. The math was brutal but simple. Attempt the flight and maybe save a life. Wait for approval and guarantee a death. The senior officer, a colonel named Patterson, leans back in her chair. Her expression is unreadable. "Lieutenant, you understand that what you did sets a dangerous precedent." "I do, ma'am. You understand that allowing pilots to ignore orders based on their own judgment undermines the entire command structure." "I do, ma'am. And yet you'd make the same choice again." "It's not a question." Sarah meets her eyes. "With respect, ma'am, I hope I'm never in that position again. But if I am, and I believe I can save a life without losing my own, yes, I would." Patterson's lips twitch, almost a smile. "Captain Thornton suggested we court-martial you." Sarah's stomach drops. But she keeps her expression neutral. "That's his prerogative, ma'am." "It is." Patterson taps her tablet. "He also suggested we make you our primary pilot for high-risk mountain rescues. Said nobody on this base has your combination of skill and, in his words, controlled insanity." Now she does smile. "I'm inclined to agree with the second recommendation rather than the first." The words take a moment to process. Not a court-martial, a promotion of sorts. Recognition that what she did wasn't just insubordination. It was capability. "The Ranger's out of surgery," Patterson continues. "Stable. Expected to make a full recovery. His family's been informed. They asked who flew the rescue." She stands. "You're dismissed, Lieutenant. Get some rest. Something tells me you're going to be busy." Sarah salutes. Walks out of the room on legs that suddenly feel unsteady. The hallway stretches before her, fluorescent lights casting everything in harsh relief. She made it through. Not just the flight. The aftermath. In the locker room, she strips off her flight suit. Her hands shake now that the adrenaline is truly fading. She sits on the bench, head in her hands, and lets herself feel the fear she couldn't afford in the cockpit. She could have died. Could have killed her patient. Could have destroyed her career. Instead, she saved a life and earned her place. The next morning, she arrives at the hangar early. Dawn breaks over the mountains, painting them gold and pink. The storm has passed. Clear skies stretch in every direction. Perfect flying weather, almost mocking in its serenity. Her helicopter sits on the pad, already prepped for the day. Someone's cleaned the ice off, run the maintenance checks. As she approaches, she sees Carter beneath the tail rotor, inspecting the housing. "Thought you might want a once-over after yesterday," he says. "Everything looks good." She held up like a champ. "Thanks." Sarah runs her hand along the fuselage. "This machine saved her life, carried her through impossible conditions. I owe her one." "We all do." Carter straightens. "Listen, a few of us are heading to the training simulator this afternoon. Want to walk us through that valley passage? Some of us might need to know it someday. It's an olive branch. More than that. It's respect. An acknowledgement that she has something to teach, not just prove." "Yeah," she says. "I can do that." The day unfolds in routine. Equipment checks, flight schedules, training exercises. But something has shifted in the way people look at her. The skepticism is gone. replaced by curiosity, by respect. When she walks into the briefing room, conversations don't stop. People nod, make space for her at the table. Captain Thornton appears at 1,400 hours. Lieutenant Caldwell, my office. She follows him to the small room overlooking the hangar. He gestures to a chair, sits across from her. On his desk, a file folder sits closed. "The Ranger's family wants to meet you," he says without preamble. "I told them it might be a few days. Depends on your schedule." Sarah nods. She's done these meetings before. Grateful families, tears, hugs. They're harder than the flights, in some ways. Require a different kind of courage. "I also received a call from Regional Command," Thornton continues. "Word of your flight has gotten around. They're putting together a specialized rescue unit. High-risk, complex terrain. They want pilots with combat experience and mountain skills." He opens the folder. "They ask if I had anyone to recommend." He slides a paper across the desk. "Transfer orders, not a punishment, an opportunity." "It's voluntary," Thornton says. "You've got a spot here if you want it. But this unit would be a good career move. High visibility, challenging missions, a chance to do what you did yesterday on a regular basis, except with authorization." Sarah reads the orders. The unit is based in Colorado. Higher peaks, more complex terrain. Exactly the kind of flying that makes her blood sing. "What would you do, sir?" she asks. Thornton leans back. 10 years ago, I would have jumped at this. Now?" He gestures at the window, at the base below. "I like training pilots, like building a team. But I'm not you. You didn't come to this base to play it safe. You came to push yourself, to fly the missions nobody else can." He meets her eyes. "So I think you already know your answer." He's right. She does. The moment she saw the orders, something in her chest lifted. This is why she joined. Not for routine patrols or standard rescues, for the impossible missions, the ones where her skills make the difference between life and death. "I'll need 2 weeks to transition my duties," she says. "You'll have them." Thornton stands, extends his hand. "It's been an education having you here, Lieutenant. Short but memorable." She shakes his hand. "Thank you, sir, for giving me a chance, and for not court-martialing me." He laughs. "Don't thank me yet. Wait until you see what they have planned for you in Colorado." The next 2 weeks blur together. Training sessions with the other pilots, passing along everything she knows about the local terrain. Equipment certifications, medical evaluations, paperwork, endless paperwork. But underneath it all, excitement builds. A new challenge, new mountains, new opportunities to prove what she can do. The Ranger comes to visit on her last day. His name is David Chen. 26 years old, lean and weather-worn, with the kind of eyes that have seen too much wilderness. He walks with a slight limp but otherwise looks healthy, alive. "I wanted to thank you," he says simply. "They told me what you did, what you risked." Sarah doesn't know what to say. She did her job, maybe broke a few rules doing it, but still, just her job. "I have a daughter," Chen continues, 4 years old. "Because of you, I get to see her grow up." His voice cracks. "I don't know how to repay that." "You don't need to," Sarah says. "Just keep doing your work. Keep protecting these mountains. That's enough." They talk for an hour. He tells her about the rescue gone wrong, the fall, the certainty that he was going to die on that ridge. She tells him about the flight, though she leaves out the worst parts. No need for him to know how close they came to not making it. When he leaves, he shakes her hand with both of his. "If you're ever in the Northern District, you've got a friend, anything you need." That evening, the unit throws her a small farewell gathering in the hangar. Nothing fancy, just pizza and beer and the easy camaraderie of pilots who've flown together. They present her with a photo of her helicopter, taken the morning after the storm. Below it, a simple inscription. Some pilots follow orders. The best ones follow their conscience. Captain Thornton makes a brief speech, talks about courage and skill, and the fine line between the two. Talks about knowing when rules serve their purpose and when they get in the way of what matters. He doesn't say she was right to disobey him, but he doesn't say she was wrong either. Rodriguez pulls her aside near the end. "You scared the hell out of me that day," she says. "But you also reminded me why I started flying. It's not about the regulations or the flight hours. It's about saving lives, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Sarah leaves at dawn. Her belongings fit in 2 duffel bags and a backpack. Everything else she needs, the new unit will provide. She takes one last look at the base, at the mountains that tested her, at the hangar where she proved herself. Then she climbs into her car and drives west toward Colorado. Toward new peaks, new challenges, new opportunities to do what she was born to do. Fly into the impossible. And come back alive. The specialized rescue unit is smaller than her previous base. 12 pilots total, each one hand-picked for their unique skills. Sarah arrives to find a level of intensity she hasn't experienced since combat. These aren't routine rescue pilots. They're specialists, the ones called when everyone else says it can't be done. Her first week is orientation. She flies with different partners, demonstrating her skills, learning theirs. The mountains here are higher, the weather more unpredictable, the missions more complex. Exactly what she wanted. On her 5th day, the call comes. A climber trapped on a peak everyone says is unreachable by helicopter. Wind shear too severe, altitude too high, risk too great. The mission commander looks at the weather data, then looks at Sarah. "Think you can do it?" She studies the topographic map, traces the approach, calculates wind patterns and altitude margins. It's at the edge of possible, maybe slightly beyond. But she's flown beyond possible before. "Yes, sir," she says. "I can do it." This time, nobody tells her it's too dangerous. Nobody orders her to turn back. Because this time, dangerous is exactly why they called her. She suits up, runs her checks, lifts off into the thin mountain air. And as she climbs toward the peak, toward the impossible rescue, she feels something settle in her chest. This is where she belongs. Not following safe routes or accepted procedures, but pushing into the places where skill and courage intersect. Where the impossible becomes just barely possible. Where her choices mean someone lives instead of dies. The wind hits hard at altitude. She adjusts, compensates, climbs higher. Below, command monitors her progress. They trust her now. Trust that if anyone can pull this off, she can. The climber appears through the thin air, clinging to a ledge barely wide enough for one person. She brings the helicopter in close, impossibly close. The rotor wash kicks up ice and rock. Her skid touches stone, holds steady. The climber scrambles aboard. She lifts away clean, drops altitude, returns to base with another life saved, another impossible mission completed. In the debrief, the mission commander simply nods. "Good work, Lieutenant. Be ready. There'll be more. There will be. There always will be. Somewhere, someone will need a pilot willing to fly into conditions that everyone else refuses. Someone who knows that sometimes the most dangerous choice is the only right choice. And Sarah will be there, ready to take off, no matter who says it's too dangerous. Because some pilots follow orders. The best ones know when not to." If you have enjoyed this story, tell YouTube to send you similar stories by subscribing to this channel, liking the video, and leaving a comment.